Hello everyone, it's me, Richard Dunbar. Happy New Year from Rainbow Conversations, the new radical queer podcast telling the stories of the queer community from across the world. Welcome to this, episode 5. We are going global today, people, as we cover 2 continents with our guests from Australasia and Asia, as they speak about a place to be yourself, a group supporting the LGBTQ plus community in Cambodia. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this extra special episode of Rainbow Conversations with me, Richard Dunbar. And as I said in earlier episodes, this is about hearing the stories of the queer community from all across the world. And today we have somebody very, very special with us, somebody who I met probably about 5 years ago on a volunteer project in Cambodia, of all places. And this is somebody who does a hell of a lot of community work based in Cambodia, and that person is Jason Argenta. Jason, welcome to Rainbow Conversations.
Thank you, Richard. Thanks for having me. What an honor.
Absolutely, no, it's brilliant to have you. So would you mind, Jason, just giving a little bit, before we dive into all the amazing work you do and the support you give the queer community in Cambodia, would you mind just giving a little bit of an introduction to yourself, if that's okay?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Jason Argenta. I'm from Australia, originally from West Australia, Perth. And I first came to Cambodia maybe in 2013, just kind of randomly. I was actually on my way to Europe to do a big Euro trip and thought I would stop over here on my way just to do something nice and, you know, give back, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I just Googled volunteer work here and ended up in a building project and teaching a bit of English and this kind of thing. But yeah, in my first few days of being here, I just fell in love with the place and knew this was where I wanted to be. So during my Euro trip, I resigned from my job, sent a quick email, booked all my return flights and stuff like that. So yeah, went back to Australia for a month, just sold up everything, sold my car, sold my things, and moved here on New Year's Day 2014 and been here ever since.
That is amazing. That's a big life-changing sort of decision. What was it like? So you come to Cambodia. What was it about the place? What made you think I need to be here?
Yeah, I was in that sort of mind frame, you know, like I actually thought I would find somewhere in Europe that I would want to stay and maybe continue my studies or something like that. But yeah, when I got here, I don't know, like the people are just so beautiful and so lovely, not talking, you know, only about their appearance, but from the inside, you know, and maybe it was about the work we were doing as well, sort of building out in the communities with people that had nothing but were so happy and grateful, you know, that I just thought, yeah, this is what I want around me. These are the sort of people, this is the sort of lifestyle I want to have.
Yeah. And I just, my personal reflections on when I came to Cambodia, same as yourself, really. It was like, I was absolutely, for the week that we were there, absolutely blown away about the beauty on many levels, actually, but also like how kind-hearted and how generous people were, even in the village where we built that house. I think I remember you on the first day on the way taking us there. I always remember this conversation where you talked about the village, what was quite destitute in many ways, and like the average age of people staying in education only till about 7-8 years old, you know, so there's a lot of sort of issues there, but then you, as the sort of company, the organisation working with then, obviously give people that little bit of hope in terms of building them a house, which is obviously a massive thing. But then I think at the time you're also building a community centre. So it was about building communities, wasn't it, as well? It wasn't just an individualistic thing.
Yeah, exactly. And part of my tour when I arrived as a volunteer too was the person that told me, like, showed me around town and talked about like a lot of the horrors of Cambodia, you know, and landmines still all around, and the Khmer Rouge and all this stuff I had no idea about. And I was just a little bit horrified, actually, and thought, oh my gosh, like, I didn't know this is what I was in for. And I also remember like being shown to my small room in the guest house that we stayed in, and thinking, oh, this is it, you know, like this is just a room, like a square room, you know, and not really big, and like a pretty basic bed and like a very basic bathroom. And I was a little bit like taken aback, you know, but for me, it was that I sort of ended up loving about the place as well, just the back to basics simplicity of it all that sort of makes you feel like, we just get caught up in so much stupid shit in the Western world, you know, that's really actually meaningless. And yes, how lucky that I had a bed to sleep in, how lucky I had a small room to, you know, with a roof over my head during that period and running water, because a lot of the people we built for and worked for back then had none of those things. So it really made me take a step back and be like, okay, like what's important in life? And I came to kind of realize that I had a lot of unlearning to do and changing.
No, that's really interesting. And for me, one of the things what really sort of interests me in terms of what you're being involved in for the past couple of years is around a place to be yourself and the support you offer for the queer community within Cambodia. So would you just like to tell us a little bit about a place to be yourself, what it is,
yes,
set it up?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for asking and thanks for your interest in it. So it probably started about 4.5 years ago and had kind of been on my mind for a while since moving here, because I had volunteered at a drop-in centre for LGBTIQ plus people in Australia before coming here at all. And it was just so beneficial to me, even though I was the volunteer, not even a visitor, you know, it was so beneficial to me just seeing things on the wall, meeting the visitors, having, you know, the events that we held and learning so much myself, that over the years that I had been here, I saw a real need for that as well. You know, like people could really do with a place, one, that they feel safe and comfortable to be themselves, to explore themselves, to like try out being someone else for a day, you know, and have access to resources and information and definitions and labels that we sometimes use, and just all these things that maybe we take a bit for granted in the Western world. And so I started while I was still working with the other NGO, using my Khmer lessons. Khmer is a Cambodian language, just to sort of try to come up with a few definitions for like, what's gay, what does L in the LGBT mean, and what does bisexual mean? And then with this sort of image in my mind that I would one day have it up on the wall in my own place, and then it all just kind of happened pretty quickly as well. What happened? We were offered a space for like free for the first 12 months, and then we had our first fundraiser and like printed some resources, stuck them up, and then just sort of opened. And then it was all about getting the word out there and getting people to know about us. But that's kind of how we started, a bit out of the blue and organically, I guess. But I did do a lot of research before, and obviously knew a lot of LGBT people as well, mostly through my partner, who was or is a performer. And I would, after I met him, I would often like hang out with his friends and go for dinner after their show. And there was just a wide variety of people that it was just so interesting to sit back and watch their conversations and the things that they talked about and the things that they did. and a whole lot of different personalities, you know, and identities too. Some straight boys that were performing just for, you know, cash, some gay boys, some trans women, all of the people you can sort of imagine that were just, in this one sort of tight-knit group, you know, that was just fascinating to me. And sometimes, you know, some of them were sex workers as well or worked in that industry, and they would order their food and they would duck off to meet a customer for 20 minutes and come back and their food would be waiting for them.
Wow.
And I mean, things like that too, wanting to make sure they had access to the right resources and condoms and like sexual health information and not have it being stigmatized or looked down on. So I just saw a real need for things like that. And that's what we tried to become, I guess.
That is amazing. And just on that last point about sex workers as well, because I think the world over, in many respects, they are absolutely stigmatized on so many different levels. And I think you hit the nail on the head, Jason, there, when you said actually they do deserve a place to feel safe. They do deserve sort of protection, and they do deserve, you know, love and nourishment and everything else that goes with being a human. So in terms of the all the different sort of people you sort of engage with, then you said, you know, when you're going out with your partners, friends, you're hearing loads of different conversations. What does LGBTQ plus culture look like in Cambodia? How would you describe it? You know, been there 7-8 years now. What is LGBTQ plus culture?
Oh, that's tricky. I think for Khmer people currently, maybe the LGBTIQ plus culture looks mainly quite stereotypical, if that makes sense. Just with regard to maybe the definitions and that people don't sort of know maybe the vastness or just how diverse our community can be, you know what I mean? So if someone, for example, comes out as gay, I think they think maybe, okay, that looks like this, so I have to be this way, I have to act like this, I have to walk like this, I have to talk like this. If that makes sense, they don't sort of get that actually being gay means nothing aside from you like to have sex with men, you know what I mean? So I think it's very stereotypical like that, and it ends up with some people sort of maybe becoming or taking on a role that isn't necessarily them. But I do also see a lot of individuality and things sort of changing here already, in that people are, being more open and being more authentic and being who they really are as well, which is great.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so in terms of wider Cambodian sort of culture and society, are the queer community openly accepted? Are there issues? I'm sure there are issues everywhere in the world, but what is just queer culture, and how does it fit within wider Cambodian society?
Yeah, I think that for me, I think there's like quite a lot of acceptance here. So once it's like out in the open and you sort of educate people and you talk about it and you explain a little bit, for me, I feel like it's very well accepted then. But I think one of the key issues from society in general is a lack of acceptance, probably based on or stemming from a lack of education. But once I noticed that education is provided, that people are very receptive, if that makes sense.
And
probably... Oh, sorry.
No, sorry, go for it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, I think there's also another issue, like a lack of representation, also changing these days as well. Lots of like young LGBT people being more open and being more out there and sharing their lives on social media and stuff like that, which is great. But sort of previously, again, very stereotypical if and when they were included in television episodes or advertising or whatever, very stereotypical, very often the butt of the joke or the laughing stock kind of idea. And probably another big issue would be lack of family acceptance and understanding. And you probably know too, even just from the week you were here, that family is such a big thing here. And there's so many aspects to it, and like the kids, they all take on different roles. The first kid, the second kid, the last kid is expected to do different things and take care of the family, and that goes into also getting married and continuing your bloodline kind of thing, with the idea that you will also support your parents when they're older and they can't work or whatever as well. So that has a big impact, because a lot of people don't realize that LGBT people can still have families and can still be successful and contributing members to their family, but also to society, While I'm on a roll, keep going.
Go for it.
Probably also like a big thing is a lack of protection in the law, and a lack of recognition in the law, reflected in the law. And it's quite interesting, because I read a report recently that said something along the lines of the laws will change when the social acceptance levels increase, if that makes sense. And okay, that's good. It gives us a place to start kind of thing. But part of me also thinks social acceptance will change when the laws change, when there are protections in place, when we're not, discriminated against, then people will start to change their opinions as well,
So does that? So I suppose this comes on to my next question, and I think it's a perfect sort of link, really. So, sort of, if we're talking about seeking that, pure queer liberation in Cambodia, what does then need to happen at a community level, as you're talking about that education, but also at a structural level in terms of laws and other key anchor organisations? What needs to happen, do you think? So if Jason Argenta were in charge in Cambodia, what would it look like if we're going to get from where we are to seeking sort of true queer liberation? What things need to happen?
Yeah, well, from this report, and from, I think their report came from quotes from the government or whatever, it seems they want it to start at the social level, right? So I guess more presence, more people sharing, more people being vocal about who they are and what we need and what we are worthy of, and places enforcing that, and writing it into contracts and rules and the law as well, because that will have a big impact as well. Now it's really kind of fuzzy, the Constitution, I think it is, says that, everyone should be treated the same equally, regardless of race and color and blah, 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 blah. And they don't mention sexuality, If anything, we fall under the other word, but make it more obvious, make it clear, make it so that we can't be discriminated against, instead of just being silent on the issue, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And isn't that the story of a queer person's life in many parts of the world where we're being othered, So actually, I think you're right. There's a real point around outward visibility and representation. I think that's massive. So do you think this report, which I would be interested in reading if you can send me a link later, is do you think will spark sort of, because if the government are openly saying we need to see more social acceptance, that's almost like an agitation, isn't it, for more sort of not only education but sort of wider activism as well? Do you think that might be one of the impacts, that you will see more groups like A Place to Be Yourself spring up as a result of this?
I do hope so. And I have recently seen a few more things, and I don't know if it's where I'm looking or what, but there was recently a grant that was calling for, how do you call that, applications, applicants. And there was quite a few queer related applicants, so that was really nice to see. And one of the winners of that is doing a project like ours in Battambang, which is just so awesome to see. And we have a connection, and we know each other and can be there for each other as well, So there's also some other stuff based in Phnom Penh. So yeah, there is more and more happening, and I think it is getting out there, which is great to see.
That is absolutely amazing. So what does obviously, like most places in the world, the last 18 months or so have been a challenge in delivering services for the LGBTQI plus community across the world. How did sort of COVID affect your ability to deliver services for the community, and what are the plans for A Place to Be Yourself going forward in the next year?
Yes, it was pretty devastating, the whole COVID situation, and did impact us quite a lot. We obviously tried to stay open for as long as we could. And I sort of called it quits or closed the doors when my staff started showing a bit of nervousness, as COVID started increasing in the community here. They were a bit more like, are we staying open? And it is a very social job, So yeah, we finally made the call just to shut the doors in March of this year. And then it sort of got quite bad here for a bit, and there were lockdowns and red zones and all this sort of stuff happening. So we would have had to have closed anyway. But yes, we are sort of looking at moving at the moment. We're in the process of moving now, signed a contract with a new location, which is a youth center that started at the beginning of COVID as well. So we're going to have a shared space with them, like a shared drop-in space that we will LGBTIQ-ify before we move in, and a private space as well, private office upstairs for anything that needs to be sort of done private, or people that aren't feeling super comfortable in a shared area. But it's also really cool because we get then to access their programs, and they get to sort of access our stuff that we do as well. So it's sort of joining, LGBTIQ plus people with the wider community, as opposed to being like, here's your space that's separate from everyone else's space. You know what I mean? So it's a bit exciting for me. But during this time, of course, all our sort of sponsors and stuff, how do you say that? Froze over as well, or like they lost their support, or they weren't able to run their stuff that provided us with money. So yeah, this is something I'm starting to look at now as well, how we're going to fund it. Probably should have thought of that before I signed the contract for the new place. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just hopeful, and I think it's necessary what we're doing, and it's been working all these years. So I'm just sure something's going to come along, or someone's going to come along, and it's all going to be fine. But yeah, maybe I'm a little bit too optimistic.
No, I don't think you can ever be too optimistic, and I think it's important to say that it's amazing what you're doing. Giving space to LGBTQ plus people across Cambodia to actually be themselves, as it says in your title. I think we can't underestimate that importance, because if people don't feel safe and they don't feel they can be themselves, then we know that causes loads of other issues in terms of mental health, acceptance, all of that stuff. So it's massive credit to you and for everybody else involved in making that happen, because as a queer community, whether you're in Bradford in England, in America, in Siem Reap in Cambodia, it's like we've got to show solidarity to the queer community wherever we are in the world. I think for me, it's not. We need to stop thinking about borders and start thinking about actual people. So I'm so glad you see the value in that as well, because I think not everyone does. I mean, hopefully a lot of the LGBT community does, but yeah, even amongst us, there are people that just think, why is that necessary? But it's just like such a simple idea, but such an important thing for people to feel like, they can just do what they want. They can wear what they want. They can be how they want to be, say what they want to say, knowing that they're not going to be judged and discriminated against and, feel unsafe. So it's just such a huge thing, I think. And hopefully my idea is that they get that feeling and are so shocked by it that they start to be like, why don't I have this out in the society, in the community? Like,
and start to see their worth, like, oh, I should have this feeling. I shouldn't be worried out in the real world, and start sort of demanding more of society and, outside of our space, start knowing their worth and sort of demanding more, if that makes sense.
I think that makes complete sense, and sort of the work I've done around LGBT activism and jobs in politics and out of politics in community organising. One thing we have is a saying around what power really is, and I think the definition I use in terms of what power is power is the ability to act. So actually, if you're getting people together to speak about their rights and feeling safe and being who they want to be, that's quite a powerful thing, really, when people realise their own agency when they get together. Because quite often, when people try to separate people, they do that purposefully because they don't want things to change. But when people come together, that seems like movements spring out of collectivism, I think. So actually, you doing this stuff, actually, I think will put ultimately pressure on the government and authorities in Cambodia to get the change so queer people accepted.
I hope so. And this is actually an issue too that, maybe you've just vocalized perfectly, that people don't have that sort of feeling of community amongst the LGBT community, I think. So, like, it is a bit like self-defeating or internalized sort of homophobia that people feel like they just are not worth more than the way they're treated, like, I'm gay, so like that's why I received this discrimination, that's on me kind of thing. And it's getting people to realize, like, you're a person and you shouldn't be treated any differently regardless of who you go to bed with,
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think that's a bit of a challenge to getting people to see their own worth and not being okay with, that's just the way it is. I'm sorry, like, that's not good enough in some cases.
And before we wrap it up, I'll ask a few questions about how amazing the queer community is in Cambodia. Now, in terms of the things to celebrate, at the start of this conversation, you talked about, being out with your partners, friends, performers, etc. But from your point of view, what are some of the things that stand out, what make the queer community in Cambodia so amazing and so diverse and, something to be really proud of?
Yeah, I think one big thing that I sometimes even underestimate myself or understate myself is that a few years ago, my partner and I went to Australia to visit our family and for him to see, another country and all that sort of stuff. And in Australia, I did not feel as safe as I feel in Cambodia. So I think, like, that's a huge thing, like just walking down the road to the train station, I was like constantly looking around and, who's around and who's coming and who's in that car. And, and my partner didn't have that because he just knows Cambodia and we never have to think like that in Cambodia. You know what I mean? So for me, it was a huge thing. And I didn't say it to him at the time. I didn't want to scare him. But, even like on the train, because he feels a bit car sick or motion sickness, he had his head on my shoulder and I'm looking around thinking, okay, like, who's on the train, who's watching, who can see this, what station's coming up next? Oh, that's a bit of a bad station. I better like try to get him off me. But to Cambodia's credit, it's so like not like that here, so open in a way that we walk down the street hand in hand all the time. We kiss each other goodbye all the time, like, and no one bats an eyelid. So I have to say that's like a really beautiful thing for me that I probably didn't notice until I went back to Australia and saw how different I felt. That they are very accepting and very receptive. Like I said, when you do explain that, hey, I'm just a person like you and it's not such a big deal, then they go like, oh, okay, yeah, I get that. And sort of then it's not a big deal,
Yeah.
And I think in Australia or in maybe other Western countries, it's not that simple. People are more attached to this idea or their own ideas or their own beliefs that they're like, no, this is how it is, not the way you're saying. But I don't know, people are just so open here. And maybe it's from the religion as well, because 95% of the population are Buddhist, you know, so that's a bit more of an open religion in regard to sexuality as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, I think just the whole LGBT community, not only in Cambodia, it's just so individual and diverse and beautiful and loving and accepting. And in Cambodia, especially very resilient, which I kind of hate to use that word because I hate that people have to be resilient. It doesn't sort of justify or excuse what they have to put up with. But yeah, they are very resilient and very good at bouncing back and very quick at, bouncing back, which I think is a big asset, a big thumbs up for that.
That is amazing. Like I said, I was only there a week and I absolutely fell in love with the place. And one of the things I took back, obviously, after those days, a graph, going to some of the bars, meeting performers and stuff. And it was just how just open and warm the whole place was. Do you know what I mean? Particularly from Nkima people. It's like, just love the place, and I do need to come back, and I will come back at some point and spend more time there.
Yes. Well, they've just opened up something. I think there's less quarantine time or something like that. Maybe it's down to 3 or 4 days now. So yeah, come give us a visit.
100%. And just before we sort of wrap up and stuff, like how things were you? 'Cause you mentioned as well, like in terms of your partner as a performer. Would you mind speaking about that? Just because it's like, what does he do? All that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So that's actually where I met him, funnily enough, or first saw him perform. Actually in a Broadway show, like in a purpose-built theatre. It was really amazing. And then I was raving about it to my friends at a bar, and in he walked, and it turns out he also performed at that bar. So I was like, oh my God, I need to frequent this bar every day.
Yeah.
So that's how I met him. And yeah, he was performing back then. The Broadway show has closed, and the bar is currently closed because of COVID, has been for a long time. So yeah, he doesn't have any money coming in, but we also started a cafe a couple of years ago. It's called Krusa Cafe. Krusa is the Khmer word for family. So yeah, family cafe, that's sort of what we called it, and the vibe we hope people get from it. And yeah, we're just managing that and running that every day and trying to support our family. My mum was here at the time, actually, and she had a lot to do with the menu and the cooking and stuff like that. So another reason we called it Family Cafe. And now we've got a couple of our kids running around the cafe as well. So yeah, we're kept busy with them and with that and with this.
Wow, I don't know how you sort of fit it all in, and how is it, being a relatively new parent? How are you finding it? Are you getting sleep, both of you, or not? Or
it is certainly not what I expected.
Yeah.
In a way, it's hard to describe, because in a way it totally is, and in a way it just is not. But in a really beautiful and positive way, of course, there are some things that are different, and that is to be expected. And yeah, sometimes it's challenging, but overall, it's just lovely. It's beautiful. It's what I always wanted. My partner's really great at it as well, being a dad. And yeah, being in a family, a loving family. So yeah, in a way it's sort of just come naturally, and in a way it's sort of shaken up our already sort of crazy world.
Wow, this is amazing, and I've sort of really enjoyed this conversation, Jason. I've got
me too.
Loads out of it. Thank you so much. But if people want to find out more about A Place to Be Yourself or anything you're else involved in, are there any socials or anything people can follow or anything? Where would you like them to?
I was going to just tell you before too, because all of our resources and the research we did, or the reports that are available in Cambodia, are on our website as well, under the resources tab. So our website is www.aptby.org, and you should be able to find everything on there. But we also have a Facebook page, and we also have Instagram. that I don't post on nearly often enough. But yeah, those are our main three things: our website, Facebook, and Instagram. Yeah, thank you again for having us on and taking an interest, because yeah, I think what you said is perfect, that we need to stop thinking of things in terms of borders and barriers. And yeah, I think it's great to be able to share and know what everyone's doing in this area, because it's such a good and important area that, yeah, needs a lot of work to be done.
No, absolutely. And if you get a chance to visit Cambodia, people, please do it. And if you can think of ways of supporting to go on the website, go on the socials, and think beyond your own circles, people. I think the message is today. So yeah. So thank you very much, Jason, for joining us.
Thank you, Richard.
Conversations.
Thank you. No worries. Thanks for having us.
No worries. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Rainbow Spotlight. And as I said at the outset of this podcast, as well as celebrating the voices of the queer community here in the UK, we are going global, because if we are going to make progress in the queer community, if we are going to make things better, it's important we take an international perspective. And today, I'm very, very lucky and very honoured to be joined by Sivat, who is a member of the group A Place to Be Yourself, which is based in Cambodia. Sivat, welcome to Rainbow Conversations.
Thank you, Bob, for having me. And now let me introduce myself to everyone, and also for you to know each other more clearly. So, hi, everyone. My name is Sivat, and I'm from Siem Reap, Cambodia, and I graduated a management bachelor degree at University of Southeast Asia. It is located in Siem Reap, Cambodia. And currently, I work at Kosa Cafe, and also maybe in the future, like when I be reopening, so I'm going to be working there too.
This podcast is obviously focusing on the voices and stories of people in the LGBTQ plus community. And one of the things I think is really important is that we hear their stories. So from your point of view, how was your whole journey in coming out and realising your identity? How have you managed with that as a relatively young man?
Yeah. So my journey is a little bit difficult and different. And so let's start my story. So my childhood is a bit difficult. So I was born in a small village out of the Siem Reap town. So Cambodia, so I was born in Siem Reap, and my village is a bit far from town. So, and my parents went through to the Khmer Road, and which means people there on that time is a lack of the knowledge. And also in the village, so most of people or my neighbor or all of my family member are straight, except me. So this thing is when I was young, I don't know what is LGBT mean, or what even if people say gay or things. So in English you have many words like gay, lesbian, or transgender, example like that. But in Khmer we call only one word, very rude word like "tơi," but we call in general everything, every identify of except straight, they call "tơi." So I don't know what is that "tơi" mean, and I don't even know that because all of my sister and brothers are straight. They all grow old and get married, and I don't understand that. And until I come to many events or reading books or novel or even movie. So they have many movies. So of course, first I'm a bit curious, or I have many questions with myself. what I am. Some like very first I think like I'm not normal. I'm not like a normal person. I'm questioning myself until I meet someone online and I feel very happy, very like very nice conversation with him that I don't know anyone before like that until we get meet and we feel like wow, like butterfly, like butterfly all over in my body. So, but we get along for 6 years until I found out like he have cheats on me. So we have break up, and I find my current boyfriend. He's work with Jason, who is consulting with Abby. So this is why I know Abby.
You mentioned that growing up you weren't aware of words like gay and lesbian, but you said there was a Cambodian word. Would you mind repeating what that word is?
Yes, this we all call them Ktoi.
Right. Okay. And
Yeah.
so is that word, is that view in Cambodia growing up, was that word used positively or negatively, or was it quite neutral? How did you know that word to be?
It actually is a negative and opposite word, like like example, like everyone have group conversation, but except one that not talkative, not join like other different, they call nerds, something like that. Yeah, it's same thing like this, and it's make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Even a straight person, but someone call them Ktoi, they feel like angry or upset. Sometimes we don't know. We don't know what we are used to until we found out, until we coming out. But sometimes if they don't know that word or they don't know what they are, so they feel questioning and feels a lot of pressure. So not good. But even if they are really like gay or lesbian, when they call them Ktoi, they feel also upset because
Right.
because like they don't accept them as they are. They don't use their pronouns she or he or their, but they separate them like you are out of my group, out of normal group, like that. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And is there, in terms of your story as well, when you did sort of come out, how did your family and friends react to you? And was it the reaction you expected? How did that go for you?
So first, I coming out with my close friend. They get surprised, and I'm a bit scared that they will not talk to me anymore or something. But they give like they rooting me like they give me a hand, like they cheers for me and they are happy for me, like they know something about me but they don't want to say. They want me to coming out to them first, and then they cheers for me and they said, you find your real happiness, keep going, man, like that. Yeah,
that sounds like really, really good friends. That's amazing. That's amazing.
And it's strange. Yeah, sorry. And it's strange also, like all my friends, all my close friends are straight, both men and women. They're all straight. They are not lesbian or gay. Yeah, so. Yeah.
Well, every straight person needs a gay person in their life. We make the world so much better. So.
Yeah, yeah, but I really love them. Like they don't even care like who I am or not even me, even other people, even their LGBT, but they still love the other based on their activity or based on their behavior, not their sexuality. That's why I really love them and I know them since a child. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like more than 20 years.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And how about your family? Are they quite accepting and understanding of you now, would you say?
Honestly, my sister and my brother, they know me. One of my brother, like, I'm not, honestly, I'm not coming out to my family yet, but they know like what I like. Yeah, and also one of my brothers said, uh, "Are you sure you love like he didn't mention like men or women. He said like, "Are you sure you love your friend?" Because he saw me one time like driving motorbike close to each other, and he said, "Are you sure you love your friend and make sure you don't like?" Because when I was teenager, like things like we want to try, want to know, want to test, want to think like that. He care like if I'm not follow my heart, I just follow the community like that because our family are straight. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, and my mom, she support me and I'm not introduced my boyfriend to her yet, but I will.
Yeah.
But yeah, thing is like she's love what I'm doing. She not even say like because it's in Cambodia, like parents and also the neighbor, they also care about us a lot. They will come and say, "Oh, you are old now. Why you don't get married yet? See your fathers, your friend, already get married and they get two children and get kids already. And why are you stay so late?" And my mom, she replied to them like, just let him do what he want and the way he live because I'm not giving him much as other moms give. Yeah, and back to there and into this point, she's mentioned like that because she want to see me like she want to stay on my side, support on my side. She already know even if I'm not telling her because as a mom, she already know her son, and I'm youngest one. Yeah, and told them like, no pressure to him, no rush. Everything he will complete by himself. And back to that, when I was young, my like I have a big member like of family. I have a big family, like 4 brother and 2 sisters. I'm youngest one, and 4 of my brothers and sister are not graduate. Like they study only in like grade 6 and they stop and they get married so young. And I learn all of them this a lot. Like they don't have very good job and they don't have like good educate and get married very soon. But the lucky like I have very good brothers and sisters. We have a big heart for me, look after me so well. Even they have nothing, but they still taking care of me. And I'm going to find my own education. Like I try to find scholarships to study even English or Khmer, and I start doing the Khmer perform since I was young, and get very little wage to support my study myself until I even I'm in the primary school. I'm going to perform my cultural dancing, Khmer dancing, to every hotel to get money for my study. So that's why my mom said, because my mom cannot support the study for everyone. So I have to start to find my own job and doing my own job and did everything by myself until I graduate at university. I work and study at the same time.
Right.
So
wow. Do you see, what's really admirable about you is that you're very, very focused, clearly. And I was just wondering, in terms of, you shared your own personal story about sort of coming out and how your family and friends have responded to you, and that's really nice to hear. And I agree with you, there's something about mothers, even before I came out, my mum knew even before I knew, and it's like they've got this magical power, haven't the mothers? They just know. So, and I just wondered, in like sort of wider Cambodia society, you spoke about your very personal experiences, but in terms of how LGBTQ plus people are viewed across Cambodian society, would you say it's positive, negative, in between? How would you say it is for LGBT people in Cambodia today?
So the positive and negative between LGBTQ plus IQ plus in Cambodia before and now. So that's why parents there at that time, they're a bit worried about their son and their daughter, they'll be coming out as LGBTIQ plus, will be like end up no child and no, like only one job, not have many job and less educated, and they're worried about when they get old and no one look after them. So this is what the force, like the cause of them to stop their children to coming out as a LGBTIQ plus and force them to get married. And now I like many of movie and also like sport and news, Noah, everything is a lot of, they try to put many different model and much better and give them more educate and knowledge about LGBTIQ pluses. So this is why I understand that why like people call all of them actor, only one word, not many words like that.
So what you're saying is really like representation of LGBTQ plus people in societies and across sectors is really important to educate people about our community. Would you say that's true?
Yes. So now people coming out a lot, and also that become the role model of others and inspire someone. And also now it's become much more better. And if people like be coming out as LGBTIQ plus, they're not giving like real root word like before. And they also like some friend or family cheers for them and rooting them, and they saw a lot of them success. And this is important for, and also important example for the young and new generation of LGBTIQ plus too.
This is so interesting, and I just wondered then, going on to your work with A Place to Be Yourself, so how important are groups that support the LGBTQ plus community in Cambodia, or indeed anywhere across the world? How important are groups like A Place to Be Yourself giving support to the LGBTQ plus community? Why do we need them?
Well, actually, this is, I think, my opinion for A Place to Be Yourself or LGBT community plus, really important, because LGBT people, we feel safe and we feel it's like this is my right place, this is my own zone, like my zone. Like I feel confident, feel comfortable, and my friend will work very well with that soon, because all the people around me are looking me as a star person, not a different people like social outside or community, or people like some of the straight people will look at me and you are strange, but it doesn't mean strange as a good, but it's strange as difference, like different, like you're not normal like that. But LGBTQ plus or a place to be yourself is make my place to be myself. So that's why we all really need that. Not only me, but we make it in a way, and people will feel like the same and getting good and support, and by our young or other community is coming, and it's not even for the LGBTIQ plus, but for the straight people come to know. They want to. Some people they are not in there, or they want to support, and someone they just want to know how is that what mean. They're not to be rude, but they want to know why is called lesbian, what does it mean, why is called transgender, what does it mean. So this place is really important, and I think in the next, like in the future, if possible, we don't need AB or we don't need LGBTIQ plus. We want community or social become like a place to be everyone or to be LGBTQ plus. So not only one space that we feel safe, but all of everyone, all of the world, all of the country will feel safe, even we go anywhere.
That very, very inspirational words there. You're very definitely giving a lot of leadership vibes off. I can see you're a leader, a natural born leader. There's no question about that. You talked about the importance of the group within society, but in order to get to that place where everybody in Cambodia or across the world feels like it is a place where they can be themselves, what needs to happen, would you say, within Cambodia in order to make it a better place for everybody from the LGBTQ plus perspective? What needs to happen in society, and what do the government perhaps need to do?
Well, the thing is, like, if I am a government, so for 1 minute, so I will give a chance to all the price or to all the LGBTIQ plus without identifying them. Like if I give a work for one NGO, so recruit them without any, like, we don't put any like of the sexuality. We just put the name and also education. We don't care about sexuality anymore. And if they can work, they work. If they cannot work, they will have to learn. And if first give them opportunity to get a job for everyone, and without selecting identify or sexuality. And second, and give a course for them for every sexuality or everyone, not focus on one of this. And third, we're giving up, or we give a chance for LGBTIQ plus to learn management or to learn leadership. Leadership can make them become very strong, confident, and also if they cannot become the leadership, at least they know how leadership work or how the process work, and make them feel free. And because I think leadership is like for LGBTIQ plus, most of them like in here, I don't know what coming out or the word, but in here that my experience, I saw them like they learn of art, things like this, but art, like a leadership is really like for them. So opportunity for them is important. And when they have a leadership, when they get a experience, when they get a course, when they get a knowledge, they can share this to others. So this is really important.
Yeah. So gaining that knowledge and sharing it out, I think I would call that socialism, So yeah. And I think that's important. Spread it all across the world, because it made the world a lot better place than it is right now. In terms of if anybody's listening to this, because there'll be people listening to this all over the world, why should people come and visit Cambodia or come and work in Cambodia? because I've been very lucky to visit about 5-6 years ago, and I absolutely fell in love with the place. I think it's beautiful visually. I think the people are amazing. The hospitality is brilliant. The food's amazing. The scenery is brilliant. Obviously, we all know about the challenges in history with Cambodia, but it is, I would say, an amazing country, and I would urge people to visit it. Why, from your point of view, as somebody who were born there and lives there, why should people come and visit Cambodia?
Oh, that's a great question. So, for my opinion, so Siem Reap is the most friendliest people. Like we have a record friendliest people all over the world, and also I would proudly represent my Angkor Wat to people around the world. That is beautiful. Even if COVID is like before, that beautiful in different way. But now there's a lot of like decorations, and there's a lot of better, even more beautiful than before, ever. And also that our history will give you a smile on your face, on your heart, for not only one day, 1 year, but you will going to keep it forever for your memory. And that's why, and also like not only Angkor Wat, but meeting people, you already get a smile on your face. So this is really important and very good point that tourists should come to Siem Reap, Cambodia.
Earlier on in the conversation, you talked about being involved in sort of traditional sort of Khmer dance, and I just wondered if you could just explain a little bit more about that as an art form and what that's like. Again, something else I've seen which is absolutely amazing. So yeah, just a little bit more about Khmer dance, arts, culture, things like that.
Actually, I start my dancing since like I study in like kindergarten school. It's like when I was grade 4. Yeah, because my school is a half of the state and half of non-government organizations. So they have people coming out to support them to be like at the school. Like before, we don't have any school to study in my village. And then the group of people from Singapore, they come to build a school for us. But in return, we learn how to dance traditional Khmer dance, like Apsara dancing, or many kinds of dance, and also we learn how to dance like that, and then we perform for them and to get fun to build the school. And I have that opportunity and that career. And when I start my high school, my primary school, I'm going to study more of them to become a professor, to become professional, like for 10 years. 10 years of studying dancing, and I get opportunity to perform every hotel in Siem Reap, because we have many hotels in Siem Reap, and they include during their dinner, they have tropical Khmer dancing, Apsara dancing groups. So they enjoy their dance, like their dinner with the dancing and music, traditional music form. Yeah, so this is the heart of dance.
That is amazing. That's so interesting. And just before I round it up, is there anything else in particular you want to share with people?
So, as my opinion or my point is, like I want for all of the young LGBTIQ plus, if you are not clear about yourself or what your sexuality is, and I think now you get a chance to learn more about the community, information, books and things on your online, or listen to listen to the like a presenter or also join every course, every activity, because based on my experience, when I was in high school, I joined many workshops and many activity, even Boy Scouts or YCC or like a talk debate or everything. Try to involve everything. Even if you are not one of the type, we find one when you get involved, when your heart is points off, and also like sometimes your attendance is like to support them, even not for you, you can support them by that. And to by listen is really like that going to have a lot for all of every activity, not only LGBTIQ plus, even is like a short course or workshop that would be brilliant, and that career will you more confident and more knowledge, and you can get involved with everyone, and you can share this to someone who needs help.
That is absolutely amazing. And can I just finish by saying what an inspirational person you are, Sivat, in terms of your determination, in terms of your work ethic, in terms of thinking about other people. And isn't that, people, what this should be about? If we're going to achieve true queer liberation, we need more people like Sivat in the world, who's out there educating other people, informing them, showing solidarity, supporting them. And actually, if we do that and think beyond ourselves and start thinking more about other people and supporting them, then the queer community in Cambodia, in the UK, and across the world will start to feel more accepted, will start to feel safer, and will start to feel like their place, wherever that is in the world, is a place that they can truly be themselves. So Sivat, thank you very much for joining me on Rainbow Conversations.